What you do in the first 60 minutes after waking up has a measurable impact on how well your brain performs for the rest of the day. Not a small impact. A significant one. Neurologists and neuroscientists have been studying morning routines for over 2 decades, and what they've found keeps pointing to the same conclusion. A few specific habits, done consistently, can slow cognitive decline, sharpen focus, and protect the brain against age-related deterioration. This isn't about productivity hacks. This is about neuroscience. Here are 5 morning habits that researchers say your brain genuinely benefits from. Habit 1. Light exposure within 30 minutes of waking. Your brain runs on a biological clock called the circadian rhythm. That clock is regulated primarily by light, specifically natural light hitting your retina shortly after waking. When you expose your eyes to natural morning light, your brain signals the release of cortisol, not the stress kind, but the alertness kind. This morning cortisol pulse helps anchor your circadian rhythm, which directly influences your memory consolidation, focus window, and mood regulation throughout the day. Dr. Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist at Stanford University, has published extensively on this mechanism. His research shows that 5 to 10 minutes of outdoor morning light, even on a cloudy day, is sufficient to trigger this neurological signal. What this means practically: before you check your phone, before you drink your coffee, step outside. Even for 5 minutes, screens don't replicate this effect. The lux output of natural light is hundreds of times higher than any indoor light source. Habit 2. Hydration before caffeine. Your brain is approximately 73% water. After 7 to 8 hours of sleep, you wake up in a mild state of dehydration, and even mild dehydration, as little as 1 to 2% of body water loss, measurably impairs cognitive performance. A 2011 study published in the Journal of Nutrition found that mild dehydration reduced concentration, increased perception of task difficulty, and impaired short-term memory in healthy adults. The habit is simple. Drink 16 to 20 ounces of water before your first cup of coffee. This isn't about skipping caffeine. Caffeine has legitimate cognitive benefits we'll cover in another video. It's about giving your brain the hydration it needs to function before you introduce a stimulant that further accelerates fluid loss. Habit 3. Physical movement in the first hour. Exercise is the most evidence-backed intervention for brain health that exists. And morning is when it has the highest neurological impact. Here's why. Physical movement, particularly aerobic activity, triggers the release of a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Neuroscientists often call it fertilizer for the brain. BDNF promotes the growth of new neurons, strengthens synaptic connections, and has been directly linked to improved memory and learning capacity. Landmark study from Harvard Medical School showed that regular aerobic exercise increases the volume of the hippocampus, the brain region most critical for memory, by up to 2% per year. In adults over 40, this is especially significant because the hippocampus naturally shrinks with age. You don't need a 1-hour gym session. 20 minutes of brisk walking, cycling, or any movement that elevates your heart rate is enough to trigger meaningful BDNF release. Habit 4. A protein-forward breakfast. The neurotransmitters your brain uses to think, dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, are built from amino acids. Amino acids come from protein. When you skip breakfast or eat a carbohydrate-heavy meal with no protein, you're not giving your brain the raw materials it needs to maintain optimal neurotransmitter levels through the morning. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter most associated with focus, motivation, and reward processing, is synthesized from an amino acid called tyrosine. Tyrosine is found in eggs, dairy, meat, and legumes. Acetylcholine, critical for memory encoding and attention, is synthesized partly from choline, found in high concentration in eggs and fish. This doesn't mean you need a complicated meal. 2 eggs and a handful of nuts is sufficient to meaningfully influence your morning cognitive performance. The key is protein in the first hour of waking, before blood sugar fluctuations begin to interfere with attention. Habit 5. A brief period of focused, single tasking. Final habit is perhaps the most counterintuitive, but the research on it is compelling. Most people start their morning by immediately checking email, messages, or social media. What this does neurologically is prime your brain for reactive, fragmented attention. What neuroscientists call a scattered attentional state. Research from the University of California, Irvine found that it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully regain focus after an interruption. When you start your day by multitasking across notifications, you're establishing an attentional pattern that your brain carries into the rest of the morning. The alternative is simple. Spend the first 15 to 30 minutes of your morning on one single task. It could be reading, writing, planning your day on paper, anything that requires sustained, undivided attention. This habit trains the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for executive function, to operate in focused mode rather than reactive mode. Over time, this directly improves your capacity for deep work, decision-making, and sustained concentration. These 5 habits don't require supplements, special equipment, or significant time investment. Light exposure, hydration before caffeine, morning movement, a protein-forward breakfast. One focused task. What they require is consistency and an understanding of why they work. The brain responds to what you consistently do, and consistently doing these 5 things in the morning is one of the most evidence-backed investments you can make in your long-term cognitive health. If you want to go deeper on the science of brain fog, memory decline, and what actually works to reverse them, the link to our full article is in the description below. See you in the next one.